Welcome back to the channel. Hey, everybody. Today we have a really interesting topic for you. Here's the question. When I'm buying a house, can I get a tree inspection? Hey, Mason, how are you?
Hi.
Mason, can I get a tree inspected?
You can get any inspection you want according to the contract. You can get any type of
Pretty
inspection.
much. Pretty much. I don't think it outlines a tree inspection in the contract, but it could fall under the banner of safety.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, for sure.
So you had one. I never even heard of this before until you told me. You actually had a client get a tree inspection done.
Yeah, they saw a tree
Yeah.
during the initial tour, I think. And I guess it was like a little older or whatever it was, and it was falling apart. So they had an arborist come out and inspect it and basically determine that the tree needs to be removed, and the seller removed the tree.
Amazing. Amazing. Like we see, and home inspectors will note this all the time, right? The tree is big. It's very close to the house. It has big branches going over the house. But it could look kind of healthy, from a home inspector standpoint, not an arborist. So we get home inspectors that say it's a good idea to cut that back. It's a good idea to cut that back. Sometimes an insurance company will say it's a good idea to cut that back. But I've never seen someone take it to another level, which is really interesting, where they literally were questioning the health of the tree and what has to get done. So I think that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of different inspections you can get on a house, right? Give us a few examples. Starts with what typically?
Home inspection.
Yeah, typically the general home inspection is what most people will get. Then there's all kinds of add-ons. So what are a few examples of other inspections that you can get when you're purchasing a home?
Probably the most common that backs it up is termite.
Termite, or here it's termite. We refer to it formally as WDI, or wood destroying insect, because when they inspect for that, they're also going to be looking for carpenter bees, powder post beetles. Those are the other ones that may show up around here. But termite is the most common. Definitely a great inspection for everybody to get. Yep, that's probably you're right. That's the second most common.
Yeah, then you also have septic inspection, depending on if it's got a septic system or if it's public sewer.
Right. So if it doesn't have a septic system, then what's the other inspection that you might get? The sewer inspection.
Sewer inspection.
Or scope, right? Where a plumbing company will send a camera down the sewer line to check to see if it's in good condition. If there's any cracks, any blockages, that kind of thing, right? So we're up to like 3 or 4 different inspections already. Go ahead. What else?
We have mold inspection.
Mold, right? So that's important too, right? A home inspector may see something suspect. They may say, hey, and they'll call it, usually they have a different term. They'll call it like a microbial substance or something like that, because technically, even if they think it looks like a mold, which is that 4-letter word in this business, they can't call it mold technically without having it tested. Yeah. So a separate mold inspector typically is who's called in at that point. What else?
There's a lot. I mean, you also have a pool inspection you can do if the house has a pool.
Yeah, you want to check pools. If you have a pool, then you want to check the pool, right? What else?
Lead-based paint.
Lead-based paint, yeah. Pretty rare inspection in my experience, although many years ago, I purchased an investment property that had disclosed lead-based paint, and that's a topic for another video. But any home built before 78 could have lead-based paint. It probably does. The question is it under 5 other coats of paint on the windowsill and undetectable? If the home hasn't been painted in 45, 50 years, then yeah, it could have it. Inherently, it's not dangerous, but if it's peeling and chipping and it gets ingested by pets or children, yeah, it's not healthy.
Yeah, no. We have also stucco inspection if the house has stucco on the exterior.
That's an interesting inspection. We should do a full video on that one, on how do you check stucco to make sure that it's okay.
Yeah,
That's a pretty
that's a
interesting inspection.
very long inspection too. I've been to very, very long.
It can be. It's quite invasive. Pretty interesting though, because there's all different types of stucco, and these guys who do those inspections know what they're looking for, obviously.
Yeah, we have that. We also have chimney inspection.
Chimneys can be really bad. I sold a house, or was involved in a transaction. Ultimately, we did sell it, and that particular house, when they did a full-on inspection on that chimney, they found that in that case, the chimney was actually sinking into the ground. The whole base of the chimney was dropping. The other things that we see with chimneys are sometimes, don't get scared, guys, if you're buying a house, like we'll figure it all out. But sometimes the chimney is actually pulling away from the house. That's another issue that happens. And then the other thing that we often see when there's an issue, it's not that every chimney is bad, but when there's an issue, is certain types of cracking on the inside of the chimney, right?
Yeah. Or if it's pulling away from the house is the big one, and that's pretty noticeable.
It is pretty noticeable. Sometimes if you look real closely at where it butts up against the house, you can kind of see like, oh, wait a second, this looks like there's a little gap in this section, and then it gets wider or it gets narrower, and you go, something's not straight,
Yeah.
And it's fixable. Like almost anything's fixable. I think I remember, yeah, a while back having a situation like that in the area, and company came in and they strapped it to the body of the house somehow and stabilized it,
Yeah, and I think the last one I have was an irrigation inspection. And
irrigation systems can be inspected. Yeah, sometimes the documentation from the current owner of the property on how it's been serviced or maintained is good enough, but not always. So, and then look, I had a home recently that had aluminum wiring in the house. So that buyer wanted an electrician to come into the house and actually inspect the outlets and the light switches and the panel separately from the home inspector, because there could be concerns with aluminum wiring if things were not updated properly. So there's, I guess the bottom line here is we don't necessarily advocate checking all the boxes and having every single inspection imaginable done on day one when you go under contract, because they may not be necessary. Obviously, you don't need a pool inspection if you're not buying a home with a pool. However, what some home inspectors will recommend is, and I just had this conversation with a client, is, for instance, let's pick on mold, for example. Some home inspectors will say, look, don't pay for a mold inspection today. Let me do my home inspection. And if I see anything suspect, then let's get the mold guy in, right? The mold specialist, right? The chimney, sometimes they take a similar approach. They say, depending on the age of the house and what they see, a home inspector is a generalist, right? They will make determinations. They know a lot of they know a bunch of stuff about a bunch of stuff, I guess is the best way to say it. They're not an expert typically in any one discipline, but they know a lot, right? They also know enough to say, hey, let's take this to another level.
They know a little bit about a lot of things, but they
know more than a little bit.
Saying, but they also know, they know more than the normal average Joe.
Oh, for sure. This is what they do all day long, and they have varied backgrounds too, which sometimes gives them a lot of insight. So depending on the age of the house and what they see on the landscaping and trees, they may say you should probably get a sewer inspection, or they may say, well, this is a 5-year-old home and there's no trees anywhere near where this sewer pipe is running. I wouldn't be worried about it if it's my house. They may say something like that. If it's a 60-year-old house and there's some big oak trees right near where that sewer pipe would be running out into the street, they may say, yeah, you should probably get a sewer inspection done and make sure that pipe is sound, because you never know. When we bought our house about 20 years ago, about 2 years after we bought it, the sewer pipe in the front yard failed, cracked, and that was that. And we had to have the front yard dug up, and they had to replace you probably don't even remember, but they had to replace the sewer pipe all the way out from basically the house to the street. It is what it is, but that's also part of home ownership. I didn't get that inspected when I bought our house. Just didn't seem to be a concern at that time. But things are going to break. What?
I said, neither did I.
No, I mean, things are going to break. Yeah, you didn't do that for your house either. things are going to break, and that's part of home ownership too. No home inspector is perfect.
But no home is perfect either.
Well stated, son.
Like there's going to be things that'll come up with every home. Even the new construction ones have things that come up.
Yeah, that's true. And at the point that an inspection for a particular thing is done, it may say that it's okay at that point, but at some point in the near future, it may not be okay. And it's not necessarily the inspector's fault.
Yeah.
Right? They're doing their job. They can only kind of guarantee what they saw at that moment. You just don't know, right? Something, if the stucco came back okay, but then over the next winter, between rain and snow and cold and warm and all that, a home expands and contracts and a crack opens up and there's some water gets behind some stucco and something has to be addressed. And there's obviously a significant cost to it. It just happens. That's just part of home ownership. And we always tell people, like, just get ready. Like when you own a home, there's wonderful things about it, but you're going to have to fix stuff as you go. Because that's how it works. And that's, and then it's great because then you can make the decisions, you can pick the contractors and all that stuff. So I guess the point of what we're trying to make here has to do with the inspections, right? So let's just stay on topic and say, look, there's going to be a few inspections that almost everybody is going to get. But we definitely don't recommend saying, all right, let me get every possible inspection on day one, because you may not need to do that on day one, but start with the basics and see where that goes. Because you could very quickly be spending thousands of dollars on inspections and may not need it.
Yeah, I agree with you.
Yeah. All right, cool. So that's our little spiel on home inspections today. So if you learned anything, you learned that you can get a tree inspected. How about that? I learned something today. Thank you for watching, everybody. We are here to help you in Southern New Jersey, the greater Cherry Hill area. We cover about 4 or 5 counties in this area. Our contact information is below. If you're looking for an agent outside of this area, we can make an introduction for you. So please like our channel, like our video, subscribe to our channel, and we will see you again real soon.